U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to reimpose steep tariffs on South Korean cars and other products. And the remarks have sent shockwaves through domestic political circles here in the country, reigniting debate over stalled legislation and divisions inside the National Assembly.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a raft of harsher tariffs on South Korea. In a post to Truth Social, Trump says South Korea's legislature is not living up to its deal with the United States.
U.S. President Donald Trump's surprise announcement to raise tariffs on South Korea.
Today we're talking about a major international economic story. The United States has sharply increased tariffs on South Korean imports. This news is big because it affects two of the world's major economies. It impacts global trade, and it could influence everything from car prices to international diplomacy. So let's break it down in a simple and clear way, step by step. Let's start with the basics. A tariff is a tax that a country charges on goods coming in from another country. So if the US places a tariff on South Korean cars, for example, that makes those cars more expensive when they enter the United States. Countries use tariffs to protect local industries or to pressure other countries in negotiations. What happened? On January 2026, President Donald Trump announced on social media that the United States would raise tariffs on goods imported from South Korea. These tariffs will go up from 15% to 25% on items such as automobiles, lumber, pharmaceuticals, and other products. This was a surprise announcement, especially to officials in Seoul, South Korea's capital, because there was no formal notice given in advance. Why this matters? Now you might be wondering, why did this happen? The United States and South Korea had agreed on a trade deal in 2025. Under that deal, South Korea agreed to make major investments in the US economy, hundreds of billions of dollars, and in return, the US would keep tariffs at a reduced rate of 15%. But according to President Trump, South Korea's legislature did not approve the trade deal in their national parliament. He said this delay meant that South Korea was not living up to its side of the deal. That's why he raised tariffs back up to 25%. Supporters of tariffs argue that they protect local jobs and industries. Critics argue that tariffs raise prices for consumers and can harm international relationships. In this case, South Korea is a longtime ally of the United States, with deep economic and security ties, so this move makes the story even more interesting. What happens next? Here are some potential next steps in this story. Diplomatic talks. South Korean officials are likely to try to negotiate with the United States to bring tariff rates back down. Legislative action in Seoul. South Korea's parliament may work faster to approve the trade deal, which could address the US concerns. Market volatility. Investors will continue watching to see how this affects global markets, especially auto and tech sectors. Political debate in the US. In Washington, lawmakers could get involved, especially if questions arise about the president's authority to raise tariffs without congressional approval. Why this matters to you? You might be wondering, why should I care about a tariff increase between the US and South Korea? Well, there are a few reasons. It can affect product prices. When a country puts a tax on imported goods, companies often pass that cost to consumers. So the price of imported cars or electronics could change. It can impact jobs in both countries, especially in industries tied to exports and imports. It's part of global economic trends that could influence how countries work together in the future. And for students of economics, politics, or international relations, this story provides a great real-world example of how trade policy can shape global economics. Final thoughts. In closing, what's clear is this tariff increase is more than just numbers on a page. It's a strategic move, it's a political message, and it's part of a larger story about how countries negotiate, how they protect their interests, and how global trade works in the 21st century. We'll continue watching how this story develops, especially as both sides sit down for talks. For now, thanks for tuning in. If you found this explanation helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a big news breakdown like this one.